Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. By now you've probably realized that the whole point of me doing this is just so I can rant on the internet about things that I like, so stay with me because we're gonna bounce around a little. So I don't know about you, but when I find a song or an album that I really like, I tend to listen to it on repeat over and over and over. So even before their new album came out, Manchester Orchestra has been one of my favorite bands of all time. But this new album, Black Mile to the Surface, is probably one of the greatest things that I have ever heard. It's one of those albums where the songs individually are, good, but nothing really to write home about. But then you take the album as a whole and you get something that's really just incredible. And a lot of the reason for that is their use of refrain. So there are a lot of really great lyrics throughout the album that deal with God and faith and death, but there's one line in particular that keeps coming up. So in the first song we're presented with the line, "There is nothing I've got when I die that I keep. It's amazing." And that really is the introduction to a lot of the theme of this album. Variations on this line appear 3 different times throughout the album, 2 in the middle and 1 right at the end, but each time it gets a little darker and a little more cynical until we reach the final song. We're given the line, "There is nothing you keep, there is only your reflection," which is far sadder and more cynical than "It's amazing." This line is a touch point throughout the album for the overall theme of death as final, as an ending. I point to this album as one example again because I am completely obsessed with it, but the idea of using a refrain like this to develop theme in stories is nothing new. This is something that musical theater does all the time, and I want to state here that I am by no means an expert on musical theater, so I'm just going to hope that you aren't either, but everyone has heard of Hamilton. So there are a lot of thematic refrains like this in Hamilton, but one of my favorites, and weirdly one that has a lot to do with what we are already talking about, "I imagine death so much it feels more like a memory." We get that in the first song, and we get it all the way throughout, all the way up until the very end where he's killed in a duel. And this line hits us like a punch in the gut every time we hear it, because every time it comes back around, we realize the meaning has changed. But I mean, all of this is musical. What about literature? In Kurt Vonnegut's novel Slaughterhouse-Five, he famously uses the line, "So it goes," to punctuate each of the novel's deaths, whether they be intentional or accidental or, in some cases, inevitable. The theme of death as an equalizing force is developed and punctuated by each repetition of this line, and it hits us differently every time, depending on the nature of the death and how we're supposed to feel about it. Basically, no matter how you want to use these refrains in writing, they have a compounding effect on the reader. They can tie together disparate elements of your story, they can call attention to connections that the reader might miss, and really they're just kind of fun to play with. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Left to Right. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below if you have any favorite refrains. I'd love to hear about it.